by Mr. Darko Beats.
Welcome back and welcome to New York, episode 156 of the Post 90 podcast. Starting off with the usuals, like, subscribe wherever you are, whatever platform you're on. Toss the boys some type of engagement to help out with the different algorithms, and we'll get right to it with the question of the week and what I think is probably the most controversial moment of this Atlanta game. Who was at fault for that go-ahead goal that Atlanta scored? Would it be Matt Freese or would it be Thiago Martins? Because the trenches are hot right now online about that.
It's tough because I think there's plenty of blame to go around, for sure. I think Trey hit it pretty dead on with blaming the field a little bit there. But it's pretty much Thiago from the point that he recognizes that Matt Freese isn't going to come out and help him. From that point on, it's his ball and his, disaster to fix. I mentioned on Twitter that he had plenty of options. One of them, dribble out, blast the ball away, physically play the ball to Matt, considering he's quite a bit away. He chose to just do nothing.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is quite literally the worst possible thing he could have done.
Yeah. And Freese did too, it has to be said. You wouldn't love him going and cleaning Thiago to save a goal, but at the same time, you kind of would love him doing the same thing as what Thiago should have done and just kind of imposing themselves because they realized that things were falling apart and you're running out of time to do anything.
Yeah.
So I know Ian, I think, went pretty hard on Thiago on Twitter. So Thiago will read that one. I don't know if they must yeah. brush shoulders. So that's interesting.
At points, yeah.
But I think it was all caps, angry emojis, all that.
Because Ian's a fan. He's not just a lightweight fan. He's deep in it. He brings his kids to the games,
And I saw, just speaking about fans, Santi had put on his story watching the game as well, which was a interesting, weird thing because I think some people might have felt like he was just here for a good time and not a long time. But if he's just sitting at home in South America, just watching our games and cares about the team still, and he has at this point no affiliation. It wasn't a loan move or anything where he's obligated to care or come back at some point. So I thought that was fun to see too. But the game itself in general, 7 goals. Atlanta got their Ronnie ball. He would rather win 4-3 than 1-0. And he's still doing it. He's still 100%. Doing the dial-it thing.
Yeah, I almost feel like I jinxed it in a way because the whole time that we were up 3-1, I was just thinking bro, I can't wait to post that clip on Twitter. Tell everybody I told you so. I was going to @ Atlanta and be I hate to say I told you so, but I told you so. And then it quickly unraveled right in front of my eyeballs. I guess it started unraveling with the Keaton own goal. That was the first sign that things were going to go south. And at that point, I kind of just had my fingers crossed that it wasn't going to slide down that quickly. Then we just continued to bleed from that point on.
Yeah, all of our goals and all the goals that we scored and the goals that were scored against us, all came from mistakes.
Yeah.
It was a super, super sloppy game, and I think even before everything had kind of slipped away from us, I think it was 3-1 in the 50th minute before it took that turn, but even then, I think maybe people were being a bit too high on what we were seeing on the field. I think obviously we were dominating possession and we had goals to show for it, but like I just said, everything had come from a mistake or tiki-taka ball bouncing around in the box and Hannes finds his way on the end of it, or a defender makes kind of a rogue mistake that we pounce on. So it almost felt a bit like we might have been getting too far ahead of ourselves, and then we unfortunately had to pay the ultimate price for doing so.
Yeah. Well, I would put the goals that we scored ultimately in the effort category, not necessarily the skill category. Hannes getting on the end of the rebound, the ball bouncing to, I believe, Julian to feed Hannes on his second goal, a penalty. Mm-hmm. These aren't necessarily things that you're drawing up during practice. Right. It's kind of just you were the person that won the effort battle there. And then the ones that we gave up, an own goal, I've considered the Thiago one an own goal. I know that, their striker got on the end of it and was the finishing touch. To me, it's a Thiago own goal. And then you have, Almiron bullying somebody for a header. these things just don't happen in the real world. And on the night, it just fell for them, and it sucks.
Yeah, it's kind of actually ridiculous how I think bad Atlanta has been early season, considering like if you go look at their lineup, it's like actually kind of ridiculous with Almiron and Latte Lath. Loeb Janidze was just, I don't know if Kevin O'Toole was on the field because of the performance that Loeb Janidze was able to put in. And then you have like Brooks Lennon and like all these guys. It's crazy. It's probably because I put $100 on them to win the cup. So the gods had to smite them. But like this was their first win since opening week, I believe.
Yeah, and like you talk about all those guys, Almiron was like invisible in the game. Outside of that goal, he really was nothing. I mean, we did such a good job of making him be ineffective in the game. The striker was giving us fits though. Like he was a problem the entire game, and obviously he gets his goal at the end. But yeah, I mean, you said it. You probably smited them with your bet.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think was the leading factor? Who do you think was the leading player behind removing Almiron with that game? Obviously, we reverted back to a lineup from, I guess was it the New England game at home that we were at?
I think
where
so.
We had Shore in the midfield, Hack was back there. Obviously, Burt comes in eventually, but I think we just ran that back.
Yeah, no, and the midfield did a really good job of keeping him quiet. You know, Keaton gets the own goal, and then from that point he gets subbed off, and that's when the wheels really came off, was when Keaton was no longer on the field. I think that was ultimately the nail in our coffin. We couldn't hold the ball anymore. We couldn't really keep possession or play positively at all, and the defense struggled insanely bad from that point. So I think if I had to pinpoint one thing that was keeping Almiron out of the game, it's got to be the midfield and when Keaton was there.
Yeah, and it felt like Keaton kind of started to fade a bit, and I don't know if it's all injury related. Obviously, he took that week off. If he just kind of fell out of form or physicality for a moment. But you're right. Once he was off the field, like we had 3 unanswered goals scored against us, and like it was a complete meltdown, I guess. I know some people have used the word meltdown. I mean, how negatively does this affect your outlook of the team at the moment?
It's tough because I think a big thing that we've relied on in the past has been, the backbone and the ability to like kind of go and get a goal every once in a while. And this team has shown like the complete opposite. From the beginning this season, we've been talking about the late game defending, closing out games. It's been the number one topic that we've talked about every single week, it seems, is that there's something happening late, whether that's Miami, then LA, this game, letting up these late goals in an abundance. Like it is absolutely killing us. And, the coach had spoken to the fact that he thought that it was kind of under control. I don't necessarily see that. I'm not on the same page with them there. I think that there's a major problem that he has to identify. And
it doesn't none of that lends itself to the buzzwords that Pascal has introduced to the team in the community of a bulletproof mindset. And this game highlights it the most. Like when we take that first bullet in the second half from Atlanta, like there needs to be a shift of mentality to go and close it out. And even Hana has talked about it after the game. They asked him what he thought had happened in that second half, and he just said it felt like that we might have already thought we were done, like we had already won the game, which is a really poor thing to have happen. I mean, if we were already feeling that, like in the 50th minute at Atlanta, 40,000 fans, up 3-1. I mean, they had already shown that they could score a goal against us. That's definitely a mindset that needs to be like weeded out immediately.
Yeah, like that opponent, that stadium, that environment, I can't imagine, sitting there and feeling comfortable. I mean, no pressure, pickup. You go up a goal, you're thinking the entire time, like, when is the next? When are we going to concede and have to really fight back? But there's a lot of things that Hannes was kind of spitting about in his post-game presser. Like, realistically, when you score 3 goals away, you're going to come away with that. Like, statistically, that has to be, super high numbers in the win column for teams that go and do that. Mm-hmm. Not only that, but playing. scoring first away, that's another indicator of a winning team.
Early too, like
Early,
within
yeah.
15 minutes, I think.
Very early.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. It is one of those where it's points dropped. Even if we were to go and get a draw from that, that would have felt like a loss going up 3-1.
At that point, yeah.
And so, yeah, I don't know where my mind is with the team and who is really to blame. Maybe I think it just reverts back to the conversation of last week of, we don't have the reinforcements that we should from the front office. A team should be able to have a Keaton Parks come out of the game and not completely crumble, especially with the Morales on the field. You think you have another player like a Perea who's unfortunately hurt. Where's a replacement for him? Where's a replacement for Sands? So many things that would have helped in this game that we just didn't have.
Yeah, I mean, that's like a little bit of what we talked about last week. Like, in this game, we didn't elect to bring in a bunch of kids to try to shore the ship. But, like, if we had, like, I doubt that the result would have been much different than what it was.
Probably would have been worse.
Yeah, I mean, you do need, like, impact players off the bench. Yeah. Like, that's a crucial part of a team, like having a super sub. I mean, it's a saying for a reason. And, yeah, not having those things, it's really difficult. Talking about blame, I saw my first Pascal out tweet.
Damn.
Somebody tweeted
I saw a lot of Martins out.
Yeah, I did see that, yeah.
A lot of Martins
We're going
out.
through another little profile picture revolt on Twitter right now in the NYCFC community. But I did see a first Pascal out, which is bonkers.
I mean, a coach did literally get fired today.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's not, it's not impossible. There's probably like way more baggage in that department. I'm not super familiar with Sporting Kansas City, but
I think they've been dog shit for
they've probably been bad for a while.
Well, that's Kevin Cho's team, and I just know
he's always screaming.
He's always crying.
He's always mad.
Constantly.
But do you think that, like, specifically the midfield problems, that's kind of, with not replacing Santi, then you have to put Maxi in at the 10 all the time. Then you lose that possession-based super stub that you're talking about. I mean, is that the biggest failure of the offseason?
You know what I think is really hurting us? That we've talked a lot about it in terms of Burke, but I don't think that we've reflected the same criticism, I guess you can call it. It's hard to call it criticism because it's like injury related. There's not much you can do about your body being fucked up. But like Perea, from an availability standpoint,
it's been rough.
As long as he's been with us, equal, if not worse than Burke. I mean, is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Equal, at least equal.
Well, yeah. Well, it doesn't help him either that, I guess it does help him that I think coaches like Nick Cushing kind of hid that in just not selecting him. Mm-hmm. But he would be there, like he'd be around or on the bench or something.
It would seem like...
But he would never be fit enough to come into the game.
Right.
And we'd be screaming and crying for him to come in, and he just wouldn't. So, yeah, I think that's definitely not unfair to say that his availability has been kind of sus.
Well, it feels like every time he comes in, too, he is that impact player. Like, if Perea plays a solid chunk of meaningful minutes for us, like, he's done something right that, like, you can positively remember and, like, reflect on from a game. Like, every time. It's actually kind of crazy. Yeah. So to not have that force in the midfield, like you just said, which is so thin at the moment, that hurts. I don't know if those are the types of things that David Lee or Pascal or the sporting department are leaning on. Like, we have a guy like Perea, so we don't need to bring in XYZ, and then you kind of get screwed by injuries. But then still not addressing it at a point when we can pick up on the fact that there's been an issue of availability.
Yeah.
Like, you would think it would be addressed.
Yeah. Well, it just sucks, too, because, you want to put a lot of faith into a Johnny Shore, but then you are reminded very quickly, like, he is 17. He's not in the position to, be the dominant force in the midfield. The Johnny Shore, Justin Hack midfield isn't really working either.
Seems like Keaton and Johnny are the best.
Keaton and Johnny are the best pair.
And it seems like because of what we talked about a month or a few weeks ago was like Keaton admitting to kind of submitting to that Sands role and allowing Johnny to kind of grow into a more attacking role or 8 that Keaton would typically play. But like you said, I mean, that is the perfect roundabout to you saying Keaton coming out. Like once we lost that presence, that kind of more defensive presence in the midfield, it was cooked.
Yeah. Well, and Hack can do the defensive work there. There's just such a big difference in the quality on the ball between Hack and Keaton. Like it is, as much as I don't like to admit it because I love Hack, there's such a big difference when you have a Keaton on the ball as opposed to a Hack.
And I do think I've come to love Hack in the center back role.
He's a dog there.
A lot more than CDM.
Like his rating, if it was FIFA related, it'd be like 75 at center back, and you're looking like 60, 68 in
68.
the midfield. 69 if you're being 6'7".
Because of that, you don't have to, exactly what you said, you don't have to carry it as much. Just clip farming. But like you said, you don't have to carry the ball as much, and I think he, from a defensive perspective, I think is a lot better minded than I ever really picked up on, I guess, because he hadn't been put in a position as regularly as he has been this season.
Yeah.
So I guess he's that perfect Burke Band-Aid. Is Burke like 100% right now? Because that's an interesting thing that he did not start the game.
No,
which would suggest maybe he's not, but we don't.
I would assume that he is. I just think that when you're trying to make the best 11, like Hack has been doing really well. So you can't, like, he hasn't done anything to be removed from the lineup. Mm-hmm. Whereas if you're injured and missing games and whatever, like, that's unfortunately just your way out of the lineup until, Hack, knock on wood, does something, to get himself removed. I just don't, I don't know how you fit all those guys in.
No, I mean, it's too bad. I guess Hack would be the best opportunity to try to fit somebody into the midfield to plug up those holes, but like you said, the quality of like a Hack or like a full strength Pereira.
Yeah.
You're praying that Pereira can go in cases like that. So there hasn't even been rumors about
anybody.
Moves.
Well, I mean, technically there is the one from Juan Carlos.
Yeah. But even that's like, that's preseason rumor.
Right.
Like there's been nothing new, nothing developing on names that we have heard. So
I think genuinely they're
doing.
Probably going to punt it to the summer. I think at this point they can.
I guess. I don't know. It kind of seems like a bit of malpractice to be doing that. Looking at the roster that we have, it just seems weird.
They're going to do it.
And so in the summer, what do we look for them to bring in? A midfielder? What kind of midfielder?
Well, the thing is like
somebody that can take Johnny's current starting role?
The annoying part about it is by the summer, we're going to have everyone back. And then it's going to be like, well, we don't need to buy anybody because everyone's back. Because if you get a Pereira back, your midfield woes are solved.
Right.
We've found out that the left back position can be covered by Cavallo and Burke Risa. So we no longer need that. Tavon's going to be back, right? Hopefully by the summer. You no longer need a backup right back.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, how many wingers do we have?
We have too many.
No longer need a winger. Nobody's taking Alonso out of the 9. Mm-hmm. The only thing you could really look at is maybe a 10.
Yeah. But you can't displace Maxi? I don't know. We're just we said
so
it.
if you look at that you follow that thought process, you're looking at a full season, 0 signings, $0 spent.
And all of a sudden they seem to be very accepting of bringing kids up from NYCFC too. Like all of a sudden.
Yeah.
I don't know where it came
Couldn't
from.
do that with JJ.
Yeah.
Calhera,
MD. Pirro hasn't ever gotten a run, but he's been like a staple of NYCFC too.
Yeah.
I know he joins the preseason every year. It's just like, I don't know where. Maybe Pascal is the linchpin of that. Like what we know about him is the youth development kind of guy. Like maybe he's like, I need these players to get up here as often as they can.
Maybe it's that, or maybe he's just smart enough to realize, okay, well, if you're not going to give me any players, then I'm going to go and grab players from where I want them.
Keep people warm.
And, keep it under the, framework of I need this player, that player. I'm developing. I want these kids to be, under the bright lights. But in the back of his mind, he's like, no, if we're going to fold with some 17-year-olds, and I'm going to have a case to go to the front office and be like, this is what I could do with what you gave me.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely going to be a case. I think at the moment we sit in 10th place. I think when we were winning at like halftime, I think we were in 3rd.
Yeah.
So massive swing. Obviously, it's early season. I think like top of the table has 12 points and we have like 8 or something like that. So obviously massive swings. But yeah, I mean, these are the things, points, position in the table and players that you're being forced to bring on. Like those are going to have to be the things that Pascal's going to have to bring in the court of the NYCFC front office and like fight for us, I guess, as fans to like get somebody in here that can help. Because, there are more than a few positions where we need some depth. Where our starting center back doesn't have to be our left back depth, and our other starting center back doesn't have to be our Johnny Shore depth or our Sands depth. So,
or worst case, 17 and 16-year-olds.
Or like Baki doesn't have to be our 9 depth. I don't know. I'm just throwing things at the wall and seeing what sticks. Yeah, and we have a lot of wingers too, but it seems like at this point, Hannes and Julian are back on their Dragon Ball vibes. Joseph and Alonso, or Joseph and Almiron, shades of them back in the day. They took a week off, but now they're back to, I think, 2 goals and 1 assist between each other. Or did Julian assist both?
No, there was no assist on the other Hannes goal.
Okay.
Just a shot in the deflection.
Yeah. So, if they can keep producing, I think you keep running at it. I know Augustine looked involved at the end. Obviously, that last moment was far off sides, and that was kind of the only production that him and Kevin kind of brought to the game.
Yeah. Sadly, I celebrated that goal as if it was.
Oh no!
Because it was just at the point of the game, I was kind of like, all right, I'm just gonna be playing Madden and I'll keep an eye on the goal on the game, and I just see it go in and I'm like, let's go, freaking out, and then I came back and it was like the full FIFA animation where you see like the oh no. Yeah. Tough scenes.
So Ronnie gets his dub against us. We'll have to get our get back at Yankee Stadium. You would have to assume we do. We're different kinds of animals at home for whatever reason. I think we're starting another home stretch. Minnesota on the weekend, Sunday afternoon game. That's pretty big for
love that
the guys that enjoy sunlight during soccer, which are us, which are I think everybody.
Big nostalgia there.
Yeah, very. So looking forward to that. And then I believe we're still home after that for at least 2 or 3 games.
We'll see.
So pick up some form if we can. Keep it rolling and just like hang on till summer, I think.
Yeah.
I don't want to like set expectations for the summer that we're definitely getting signings, because that's what we felt in the off season about the spring window or the winter window.
Yeah.
So I guess we remain hopeful.
Fingers crossed. I mean, if you're at this point in the video, how many signings do we actually make this season? You could go ahead and type
bonus
that.
Question.
Yeah, bonus question.
Yeah, bonus question for those.
I'll throw my bid in. It's going to be 0.
0.
Or it's going to be 1 full-time signing from NYCFC too.
That could happen. McCamey. You saw that little.
Yeah.
But they also did an implosion against the Red Bulls.
Did they really?
They did. Yeah, I think they were up, I don't know, 2-1 or 2-0. And I think they lost 3-1 or 3-2. So, I don't know. It's running through the whole system at the moment. But that'll do it. That'll do it for 156. We already said follow us everywhere. Like our video, or I don't even know if you can like podcasts, but if you do that.
I think so.
And check out the conversation on Blue Sky and Twitter. That's pretty much where we just speak the minds. And if you're an audio listener and you want to participate in the weekly questions, just do it under like our episode announcement tweet. Yeah. As opposed, hit the YouTube comments. Just do it on, and we'll write back why your answer is dumb or something. Or sorry, that's toxic.
That's crazy.
Sorry. Yeah. So that's 156. We'll talk to you guys after Minnesota.
Peace.
Peace.
Produced by Mr. Darko Beats.